Oh, hello, this is Tak Chung from Walk with Tak. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share. The goal of my YouTube channel is to help you to make home cooking as part of your daily routine using my fast cooking system. And the word fast is the acronym for flavor chasing, advanced prepping, stir frying, and template-based cooking. But the word fast has another meaning. It truly means that you can cook your meal fast. And when you combine the four attributes of the fast cooking system, you can cook a meal with all fresh and unprocessed ingredients in less than 30 minutes. Recently, one of my friends, John, he asked me, he said, would it be possible for you to show me how to cook a simple stir-fry salmon dish in 5 minutes? Well, I took it as a challenge. So after I thought about it, I said I probably can do it in 5 minutes. So I developed a very simple stir-fry salmon dish. In fact, I beat the 5-minute time. It could be done in about 4.5 minutes. Well, you might ask whether it is any good. Well, my wife is a connoisseur of salmon. She loves salmon. She tastes salmon from all over the place. And if she thinks it is good, and I think it is a pretty good bet, it is quite acceptable. So in cooking this dish, there are several tips that I want to give you that will allow you to cook this dish really fast, as well as to give the dish exceptional flavor. Okay, so let's go into the kitchen and see what we can do. So first thing first, I would like to say a few things about salmon. You need to buy salmon that is as fresh as possible. Of course, you should not buy salmon that has been frozen. I bought my salmon from a place called Aldi, which is a small-size supermarket, and they always have exceptional quality salmon. I always purchase the Atlantic salmon that has never been frozen. There are other types of salmon as well, but the Atlantic salmon is less expensive and it tastes great to me. The wonderful thing is that you can buy them in 1 pound portions. So usually I will split them into 2 separate meals, 8 ounces for each meal. As soon as I bring the salmon home from the store, I will cut them up into 2 portions, 8 ounces per portions. And then I will cut them into strips about 1 inch wide, 2 inches in length. And I will use of them for a meal that same night after I brought them. And then I will leave the other half for a meal probably 2 or 3 days later. So far, I have not discussed any differences between the one that I use right away as well as the one that I use a couple of days later. The portion that I'm not going to use, I will store them in plastic container in the refrigerator so they are all ready to be used. For this dish, I'm going to use some white mushroom that I already prepped in my advanced prepping. Also, I found some cherry tomatoes that I will use in this dish as well. I have specific reasons that why I choose the mushroom as well as the cherry tomatoes to cook this dish, and I will explain that to you as we move along. I'm going to cook this dish in my Cucina 14-inch stainless steel wok. And I cook this meal on my glass top electric range. And you can take a look at this video why I choose this particular wok as my everyday wok. And now before I start cooking, I'm going to season the wok, use my spot seasoning method, which is very simple and straightforward, but it will make sure that you have a non-stick cook surface every time when you cook. I use this seasoning method in the beginning of each cooking session. I first heat up the wok for about 30 seconds under the highest heat setting of my stove, and then I add 2 tablespoons of canola oil. I let the oil to heat up until it starts to smoke gently, and then I turn down the heat or I turn off the heat completely, and I let the oil to smoke for another 15 seconds. And this is the time when the wok is being seasoned. Okay, now I'm ready to cook. I turn the heat back to the highest setting because I want the oil as hot as possible. So next is that I use a pair of long handled tongs to put the salmon skin down onto the surface of the wok. And it very much depends on how I store the salmon in the plastic container. Sometimes I use an offset spatula to put multiple pieces of salmon on the surface of the wok at the same time. One of the primary reasons I really like this 14-inch Cuisinart stainless steel wok is because of the large flat surface area. This flat surface area measures 9 inches across. Therefore, it is suitable to use as a small frying pan. This greatly enhances the functionality of the wok. The method that I use to cook this salmon at this point is known as shallow frying. And now most people do not like the skin of the salmon, but if you cook it correctly, they're really delicious. So in this case, what I do is that I place the skin side of the salmon down against the wok. So I'm going to fry them, and the fat underneath the skin will give it a very nice crispy texture. This takes about somewhere between 1 to 1.5 minutes to create that texture. So by the time when you turn them over, they should be very nicely well charred. If you've ever had grilled salmon before with the skin, this is exactly what it would taste like. But when you do shallow frying like this, they actually taste better because you have much better control of how much you want to char the skin of the salmon. You can pretty much char them exactly to how you like them. And by this point, the salmon is probably about 50% cooked. I start to add to the wok some white mushroom because I want to give them a head start before I stir fry everything together. And the reason I choose the white mushroom to cook this dish is because the white mushroom cooked very fast. By now, I turn the salmon pieces over to shallow fry the other side. And this will not take much time at all, because the salmons are cut into small pieces. They should cook relatively quickly. By this time, you can tell the mushroom actually are almost done. And the last ingredients I'm going to add is some cherry tomatoes. The cherry tomatoes will take no time to cook. I add them at the very end because I want to cook them very lightly. Now, I leave the cherry tomatoes intact, and if you have never cooked them like this before, you should give it a try. The heat will soften the skins of the cherry tomatoes, but will not rupture them. So when you eat it, you will have this nice burst of warm tomato juice right into your mouth, which to me is absolutely delicious. And if you love tomatoes, you will really enjoy this. Finally, I'm going to season the dish very lightly with about 1 tablespoon of oyster sauce. With the mushrooms, the cherry tomatoes, this dish already has wonderful flavor. So I do not want to add too many different types of sauces to overwhelm the natural flavor. I decided before I transfer it onto the serving plate, I'm going to garnish it with some scallion that I found in my advanced prepping. This will enhance the flavor of the dish and also will give it some nice color. Okay, with a few quick stir, the dish is done and is ready to serve. So the total cook time of this dish is a little bit over 4.5 minutes. Several things that make cooking this dish with such fast speed. First and foremost is that the salmon has been already cut into their small strips. And by cutting them smaller, it makes them cook much faster. But do you want to cut it any smaller? Would it be cooked any faster? Yes, it will. However, I do not want to cut it smaller because when you leave it in bigger pieces, they tend to stay together better. And also, this way, it gives a better culinary experience. And over the years, I have experimented with different sizes, and this seems to be the just right size. It's not too small and not too large. Because when it's just too large, it just would be difficult to stir fry, and they have a tendency to fall apart. This size is just about perfect for stir frying. They hold together well, and they're also able to cook quickly. The other reason why this dish could be cooked so quickly is because I have chosen mushroom and tomatoes to go with the dish. A mushroom could be cooked very quickly, and so does the cherry tomatoes. Now, if you choose other vegetables that will take a long time to cook, then this will not work. So you might ask, what other vegetable would be good for cooking this dish in this particular way for its speed? Asparagus would be excellent. A sugar snap pea would be also great. Any other vegetables that require short cooking time will work. For example, frozen vegetable would work very well, such as frozen broccoli or frozen green beans, as well as frozen Brussels sprouts. So this is a basic template, provide many possibilities for modifications. I post a video every day to make home cooking as part of your daily routines using my fast cooking system. And if you would like to learn more about my fast cooking system, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. So keep on cooking. I will see you tomorrow.